Hey there, it's Justin Heminger with Apex Realty Group at Real Broker, and we've been helping folks buy and sell real estate here in Fairbanks for over 10 years. And one of the issues that we talk with folks about all the time is the idea of selling your home with tenants living in it. And sometimes we can't avoid it. We've moved out of Fairbanks. We couldn't sell our home because we didn't want to super upside down in the sale, or we couldn't afford it. And we had to rent it out and we had to move. It's understandable. It's something that happens every day. But these are some of the things that very well could happen if you're selling your home with tenants. So let's get into it. Okay, issue number one is accessibility. When you're selling your home, you want to make your home as accessible as possible. Sometimes buyers are going to look at a home and be like, oh my gosh, I got to get into it right now. We don't want to treat our tenants poorly, because why would we treat anybody poorly? And according to the law, you need to give your tenants 24-hour notice anytime you're going to possibly come by the property or show the property. So in order to get that 24-hour notice, we've got to have showings scheduled out about 24 hours in advance. With that notice, one of the things that we'll ask for is the tenant's contact information, so that way we can notify them anytime we have a showing request. So one little trap that a lot of folks get into is the idea that they don't want to necessarily offend or ruin the relationship they have with their tenants, because they're already starting potentially upending their tenants' lives by getting these showings to happen. Especially if you're working with the buyer as a realtor, there'll be these issues where we'll go to make that showing request within the 24 hours, but then the tenants won't confirm, and all of a sudden we don't have this 24 hours. We need to give the 24 hours notice to the tenants, but they don't necessarily get to say, no, you can't have a showing because of XYZ. We need to make the accommodation for the tenants to have the 24 hours notice, but we give them the notice and then we can come by. If that has to be written notice, your agent, your licensee, the property manager, we can make that written notice and we can go by and show the home. We're not trying to be aggressive. We're not trying to be intrusive. We're not trying to damage potentially the tenant in any way. We're doing everything that we can to follow the letter of the law by serving that written notice to the tenant. One thing to keep in mind is that if tenants are on a lease, they're not on a month-to-month lease, then just because that the sale of the property is closed and recorded doesn't mean that the lease is terminated. So the new owner of this property is going to have to carry out the terms of this lease until the contract end date has been met. So if you're planning on buying a property that is currently being leased out by a tenant, one thing that you should have a good idea about is the terms of that lease, whether it is a month or what that contract end date really looks like. Thinking about moving to Fairbanks? Well, click on the link below for my free relocation guide, where I talk about top schools, top neighborhoods, and so much more. Another potential issue with selling your home with tenants living in the property is that some tenants don't necessarily take care of the home the way that sellers do. An example of this would be that some sellers will go home, right before showings. They've got enough lead time and vacuum the carpet, get all of the good grooves there in the carpet so you can tell that everything was cleaned up. They'll put all the clutter away before the pictures, make sure everything's staged right. And some tenants will do the same thing, and that's always great when you see it. But sometimes it's a roll of the dice. You get what you get. And when we send our professional photography team in there to take photos, it's pretty clear sometimes that staging just wasn't a thing, and we're dealing with what we got. And let's just look past what we've got in the home right now, and we're going to see the home for what it is. It's got great bones. Look at the space. Really look at the space. Let's look through the things that you see everywhere. Hopefully that's what the licensee realtor is telling the buyers as we're going through the home. It's a roll of the dice. With most buyers shopping online, they are really dependent upon the quality of the photos that we're able to put up on the MLS and be able to advertise and market your property. It's really important that we get good quality photos, and sometimes it's tough. So with that being said, if we've got a difficult time getting those high quality staging and our photos aren't that great, then we may not get very many showings. And because we're not getting that many showings, we're not getting that many offers. And if we're not getting that many offers, or any offers, we may be experiencing some days on market. So another thing to keep in mind. Lastly, and this is the real tough one, it doesn't happen all the time. It happens a handful of times every year. And that's the problem of tenants just not wanting to vacate the property. It's kind of within their rights, as folks can claim squatters' rights anywhere and say, well, I just don't want to leave. And they can stay kind of as long as they want until you go through the process of eviction. In Fairbanks, depending on how quickly the courts are working through all of the other court proceedings, listings, that can take a while. So it can be tough selling homes with tenants in it. So you never know when you're getting tenants into your property, whether or not you're going to be dealing with these issues as you're turning around to sell your property. Because a lot of times as you're renting your home, you're not necessarily considering selling your home while you're renting it. So think about these things as you're going through the process. And if you ever have any questions about these issues or any other real estate related problems, give us a call, 907-885-0316. Thank you so much and have a great day.